Hi, my name's Shawn Shaler. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter fame. And we're so excited to bring you the long-awaited, and I say long-awaited because we thought of it like 3 weeks ago. What's that scene in The Office where Michael Scott's like, I've been thinking about this since lunchtime and I'm not prepared to let it go. Whatever. Something like that. I butchered it, I'm sure. But that's what this feels like. Thought of it a few weeks ago, and we're doing it, and I'm very excited. Chris, this is top 10 Avatar deaths. We're coming up on the holiday weekend, and we're both a little swamped next week. So we're going to split it into a two-parter. Maybe a little bit shorter than normal in each part, but two-parters. So today you're going to get some pleasantries in number 10 through 6. And then next week you can get 5 through 1. Next week being, what day? Memorial Day weekend? I kind of get those, those other holidays.
Memorial Day and Labor Day mixed up?
Yeah, I do that all the time. Yeah. Labor Day.
I remember Memorial Day because Memorial starts with the M and that's May. May also starts with M. And then Labor Day just by default.
I'm such a bad person that I can remember that college football for the major programs starts on Labor Day, but I can't remember that it's Labor Day. I'm always like, oh, it's the one holiday. And then Veterans Day, I think, is in November, maybe?
I never remember that. I don't think I get it off, so. Nothing against
That statement was not meant to express or define any opinions about various holidays or wars or things. No, my grandpa is a veteran, so I always feel like I should know it. I'm pretty sure it's November. I couldn't tell you what.
Isn't everybody's grandpa a veteran? My grandpa's a veteran.
If you don't have a grandparent who's a veteran, I'd actually like to hear about it. Tell us. Let us know below. Like, especially like if you're like third generation or larger American, right? Like your grandparents were born here. You don't have one of them that's a veteran.
I would think that you would have to be 25 and 22 and under to not have a granddad be a vet.
That's true. Do we have to age restrict this to like legal drinking age or better to have?
Yeah, just because I mean we hit a certain point that Vietnam was probably the last. Well,
my dad was an only son. So he didn't go to Vietnam, but that was his age. So yeah, my dad being kind of an average dad age for somebody, a 33-year-old person. And I think if you get too far under, gosh, even under 25, you're already pushing a hard line. I think 25. Yeah, hey, let us know. We're curious now. Everybody's grandpa is probably a veteran or has one grandpa who's a veteran. Happy early Veterans Day, which I think is in November. Chris, happy birthday. Real holiday that we also don't celebrate very well. Congratulations.
I don't celebrate it well.
Existing another day.
Yeah, 35. Turned 35 yesterday. Birthday was fine. My birthday, I feel like I started the day off and just being like, whatever, screw my birthday. Like my birthday is going to be more early in the morning. I wasn't depressed. I was just like, my birthday it's just another day.
I like how you had to describe that. I wasn't depressed. This is a normal birthday thought that Chris had.
Yeah, because when it's gotten, my birthday's become a little bit more meaningless as I gotten older. Because one thing, I've gotten older.
As does everybody's.
Yeah, but my wife's birthday is 4 days before mine.
Ooh,
and so like
I don't know if I knew that.
So she, I get her a cake and stuff every year. Then 2 days after that, it's my youngest son's birthday.
That part I do remember.
And so by the time my birthday comes, it's like people are caked out. Like no one wants to get a cake. I will never get a cake. Probably I don't remember the last time I had a cake. I think it was 23.
Are you like me, where you're more of a cookie person anyway? Is that
no? I love cake.
No, you are a cake. Okay, I'll get you a cake someday.
And I ate. This is a cupcake from my son's.
Okay, so you still got a tiny cake
5 days ago. Yeah, but it's not my cake.
I thought maybe this birthday was special for you because usually in this podcast we talk about buying our own gifts for things. But this year, you like went out of your way to like Facebook message a cute story about a gift your wife thought, and I was like, oh, that's kind of touching. I don't feel like he's ever done that before. I
So,
could be
like I said,
wrong.
my morning time, like before, whenever when I was at home alone by myself working, because I worked my birthday. Because why? Now, other than my last birthday, I think I went out and got breakfast for myself. I just didn't feel like leaving and doing that today or yesterday, whenever my birthday was. And but by the time my wife got me a gift, it was sitting there. I wanted to wait until the kids got home to open, and my wife got home to open it. Yeah, she got me this like Batman mask thing. It's for a kid. Doesn't fit my face, but I don't care. She got me this Batman mask thing, and the kids played with it, and like it does the Batman voice, but it turns your voice, and it's a voice modulator. It turns your voice into Batman voice. Yeah, all my kids were playing with it, and just that was the gift itself. Really, was them playing with Batman toy. Put a smile on my face to see them. Anyway, and then my birthday was after that was pretty good.
I went out of my way after I saw your Facebook post. It was, I don't know, maybe 8:30 p.m. Not when you posted, when I read it, 8:39, something like that. I went out of my way to find the Community episode, and it was in season 3. I couldn't remember. I had to search a long time. It was in season 3 where Annie accidentally steps on Troy and Abed's, like, they just got the Dark Knight signed copy with specially recorded commentary from Christian Bale,
Yes,
and she's trying
which
to
I wish it
decide.
was a real thing, and it's not a real thing.
She's trying to like decide how best to cover up her liar to see if she can, and Troy's discouraging her. So Troy like gets mad and tells her to tell the truth and walks away, and she's just like, "The scene was really hard to record," and then she gets mad and she leaves. I basically went out of my way to find the episode just to see that part, but I watched the whole episode. That's a great episode. Sorry,
Speaking of
long story.
which, we'll diverge a little bit. I recently rewatched the Dark Knight trilogy with my daughter because she wanted to watch it. Like she came home one day a couple weeks ago. It's like, yeah, I learned a quote from a Batman movie. I was like, oh, which one? She just goes like, it's something about darkness or something or shadows, and then I'm like, I'm like, oh, shadows betray because they belong to me now. Anyway, and I'll go through that whole spiel of it. And the next day, she's like, "Oh, I want to watch." Oh, so I then told her I summarized for her the entire Dark Knight trilogy with the action figures. And the next day, she said, "Oh, I want to watch Batman Begins." Oh, okay. Like right when she came home, first thing she
Did you
said, right
cry a
after
little
going to
bit? Did
school,
you shed a little tear?
"Hey, I wanted to." First thing she came on, she said, "Can we watch Batman Begins?" I'm like, "Yeah, we can watch Batman Begins. I can't turn it. This is my favorite movie of all time." And my daughter asked if we can watch it, so we watched it. And watched The Dark Knight. Then that day, we watched Dark Knight Rises. So it was a nice little. She liked The Dark Knight the most.
And you know, that's a little surprising for a younger human, just because it's such a long movie. You know, if I had to
I don't
guess,
think.
I would have guessed that she would have
Yeah.
went to Batman Begins as well. But
Well, I think I love The Dark Knight. I think is more flashy. There's more stuff happening in it. Like to me,
constantly,
Batman Begins is like a slower burn, and I love it for that.
sure. Uh,
And then Dark Knight Rises is a little bit combination of both.
no, you can chalk me up with the normal. We've had the conversation. I like the Dark Knight best, I think, but I think you're right. They're just constantly something big happening
Yeah.
on screen. Yeah, I can get on board with that. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad she like took the initiative to ask and watch. That's adorable. Uh, and I'm trying to think of a funny segue here. Like, and lots of people die in Batman, so let's talk about other things that die in other movie series. List segues aren't my real strength. Chris, let's get to our top 10 Avatar deaths, part 1. We do have honorable mentions. We're not going to do those this time. This time we're just doing numbers 10 through 6. And just like we've been doing, Chris, for the Bender rankings, I'll go ahead and read the name. And then we'll start I'm going to call it the rationalization process. Number 10 is Avatar Roku.
Yeah, this is it's always interesting to see an Avatar's death. This probably isn't the most emphatic because like we knew, I mean, we didn't know how Roku died. Oh no, it was just kind of a somber scene. Like we went through this whole uh, history of the Avatar and the Fire Lord and how it ended in betrayal. And Roku is it's interesting. You can see a person's death and then have them comment on their death right as you, as the audience member, is seeing it.
It is probably one of the more I'm gonna call it somber. You said somber, right? Like dramatically charged sadness. It's not like interesting on screen, but like it straight up make you, even for a couple of guys that ranked Roku their least favorite avatar. It'll about put a tear in your eye to watch that whole scene. Very depressing. Gosh, I'm looking at the list here and I'm trying to decide if that's like the second or third most, probably third-ish most depressing death in the way it is portrayed.
Ooh, depressing. I'm gonna have to think about
Different list for a different day, but I'm just looking. That's what makes it stand out from the other ones that didn't make the list. Is just how depressing it is. But yeah, sorry Roku. You got to pick your friends better, I guess. Number 9, Hiroshi Sato. One that initially, I admit, I completely forgot about, and I'm glad you brought it up. I totally forgot about this.
Sometimes we forget things. In our non-bending list, we forgot this character named Takoga from he's from the comic books and Legend of Korra comics, which so that's no fault on you, more fault on me. I remember.
I mean, someday I'll
He
grow up
was a
and I'll read them.
non-bender. He was a non-bender who also used hook swords, and he could also cheap in. So I probably not cheap in, cheap block. So I probably would have had him at
You
like
trying to tell me he's better Jet?
he is a better jet. And then later
Nice.
on, he gets fused with like a Dragon Owl spirit. Well, not permanently fused, but the Dragon Owl spirit like takes over his body. So then he has like certain abilities.
That
But I
sounds
wouldn't count
awesome.
those abilities in there. I don't know. I kind of forgot that aspect.
We
But
forget
anyway, I
things,
probably would have put him at like I would have put him at like fifth or sixth.
It's a big
I think yeah.
universe. We'll put that out there. It's a
That's
big
like,
universe.
there's a bunch of non-benders in
It turns out a lot of non-benders. Yes.
it. Yeah. Yeah. Wait. What are we talking about?
We're
Who
talking
are on
about
this list?
Sato, the
Hiroshi. Yes,
horrible
Hiroshi
dad,
Sato. Who
turned
turned better?
turned what do you call that? Redemption.
Who he repented. He saw the error of his ways. He reconciled with his daughter. He then helped them build a way to defeat Kuvira. And he was actually fighting on the front lines. And he did all of this. He gets squashed like a literal bug. Like that
It felt
hurt.
it felt like a Star Wars scene, and I say that in a good
I can see that.
way. It felt like a good Star Wars moment. You got sci-fi, and he's in his little. I'm going to call it a rig. There's probably a better term for it. I'm not thinking of.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very dramatic. I think the only thing that holds this thing back, and keep in mind, it's still number 9 on a long, good list. But I think the one thing that holds him back is you don't get a ton of time with redeemed Sato. Like, it's not a character that.
Yeah, it almost seemed like their future as father and daughter was on the up and up. Like before, like that in that moment, it's this is probably the most intense high pressure situation death we see. 'Cause in that moment, he's like, "I got it," and then she's like, "Dad, we have to go. I got it, I got it." Like thing is, like this is it. This everything. Their whole plan hinges on them cutting an entrance into this mech suit. Varric Najuli wasn't able to do it. He's like, I got it," and then like the freaking circle is almost a timer, if you will. So visually, it's really compelling. And then right at that moment, he's like, I love you, Sami," and he jets her. Then she goes out. She's reaching out, and then like the way Kuvir kind of just like dismissed him, and this also comes back later in some of the comic books because Korra is like trying to get Kuvir's help for something, and Tommy's like, "How could you even trust her? Like she killed my dad." So it's a death that still comes back.
And it, as you mentioned, it's really attractive looking. Attractive is probably not the right word. Really compelling on screen. Also, very cool depiction. Chris, number 8 is Lek. And for reference,
What?
you listed page 411 part 4.
411. So I'm gonna do a little bit of reading of these things.
Please, yeah.
So one thing I love about this scene is that this is like right after they defeated you, and or Kyoshi defeated you, and things are like on the up and up. Like they're feeling good about themselves. Kyoshi and Lek, they've had this combative relationship since they met because Lek really respected her parents, and Kyoshi couldn't give a crap about her parents. And then now they finally have come to like understanding. Like Kyoshi sees him as a little brother. And there's this kind of just this cute moment. They're just walking, and like with Rangi, and it's kind of this cute moment with like a little brother with his older sister, big older sister, and her girlfriend, and like it's just a wholesome moment. It's like, and right before that, Rangi is like, "Oh, look, like you have a fine." Like she compliments him to on his looks, to where he like turns red and in kind of embarrassment, but also uh, it's like, oh, there's this weird like he also finds like Rangi like attractive in a way, even though he knows like Kyoshi, that's Kyoshi's girl, and he has no chance ever.
Yeah,
So
Chris, I had older brothers. I know you didn't have older brothers. I had older brothers, and sometimes they would bring their friends home, who girlfriends or not. I'd be like, I wish that was my friend. Like, I get it.
the only thing close out of that is that there's this like when I was like 13, there's this
I
16
suppose
year
if they
old
brought their
girl who
friends
would
over.
go over her house and would jump on her trampoline, and then that was probably the closest I ever came to like having like a crush on an older woman that was ever my wife. Whether I was 18. Uh, anyway,
It
not important.
is to me, Chris. It
Um,
is to me.
so we get to the scene after that whole thing. Uh, it says like, so they're all, hanging out and stuff. And it just quickly goes, Ronnie has suddenly yanked him downward by the arm, her knees dragged in the dirt. It was as if her entire body had gone limp. Well, what she mumbled, her eyelids beating like insect wings. Lek yelped again and swatted at the small of his back. As he spun in place, Kyoshi saw a tuft of down sticking out of him, the flashing of a dart. She instinctively brought her hands in front of her face. I think that's the part that's not important. The part that's important to me is like so it says her lungs. Oh, here it is. She could still see and think, but the poison was having. So Kyoshi also got stung with it. So she could still see and think. The poison was having different reactions in her friends. Rangi seemed barely conscious, and Lek began to gag and choke. Feet ran over to them. Pairs of hands quickly grabbed Rangi and dragged her away. Just Rangi. Just she tried to shout and scream, but the poison had its strongest grip on her neck, where it had first entered her body. Her lungs forced her air out, but her voice box added no sound. She could see Lev. His face turned red and puffy. He clutched at his swelling throat. He was having some kind of reaction. He couldn't breathe. Tears streamed down Kyoshi's face as she lay inches away, helpless, unable to save another boy from Jianju's venoms. The dust turned muddy under her eyes. Oh, the dust turned muddy under her eyes because she was crying. Okay.
Yeah, like her face
Sometimes
is
I read
stuffed
things.
in the dirt.
No, the dust turned muddy because she was crying so much. The water turned the dust
But
into
she's
water
face down
into
on the
mud.
ground at that time, right? Like she
Yeah.
can't. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. 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 So that part about like, because they mentioned earlier that he got sick and they couldn't travel anymore, and like he just had an allergic reaction to the poison. Like he had an allergic reaction to it. It was just like one of the most worst, one of the a terrible way to die.
Yeah, gut wrenching, probably the most, I'm going to say, painful to experience deaths on the list, if not the first or second to experience. Probably just like it's slow and it's painful and it's a kid and it's somebody you care about.
Yeah.
It's not hard to read. Like, you have to keep reading. You got to find out for sure if he is, right? You know he is, but you keep reading, you keep hoping. Gut wrenching. I think that's the word I'm going to stick with on his. Um, Yeah. God, I don't even want to talk about how depressing.
Well, Sean, you're the one that was excited to do a list about deaths.
Yeah, but some of them are way cooler than the. See, so far we've
Sure.
had.
Also, we should.
We started off with 3 good guys. I'm going to call it good guys. And I have to say that, you know, that's not the case for the rest of the time. I don't want to spoil anything. But we started off with 3 good guys.
Hmm.
That's about to change,
Also, I
Chris.
will preface this by saying that me and Sean approached this, and just because of um, our
Unique perspectives and values in entertainment.
yeah, yeah, I approached a lot of these deaths was like, man, what was the story composition of it? What was the emotion backing it, and also what was the cool factor of it? I'm like, Sean, you went mostly with the cool factor of a lot of these deaths.
I just had all bad
How
guys that got killed
violent were these
in really
deaths?
cool ways. Again, they were like all mostly bad guys except for like one of my picks, but it was bad guys that got killed. Awesome, Chris. That's what my list is like. Listen, I want to throw a shout out to the Kyoshi novel here because it's not that we really lean the other way, but like we had a discussion about how do we do this. Like we essentially decided we couldn't do this list without the Kyoshi novel because there's so many cool murders in it. It had to exist.
Yeah. Like he got this book, was like, who can I kill? And was like, all right, I'll kill a bunch of people.
Who can I
And then
make
the
you care
second book
about
was like,
and then kill?
and the second book was like, I might kill some people. No, I didn't. I was kidding. And the third book is like, I don't care.
Pretty
Like,
ambivalent to
yeah.
murder or interesting things. That's too strong. Chris, that's a great segue though to number 7. So after we came together and sort of meshed our priorities, I think number 7 was the most interesting conversation that we had of any character, and that was Jianju. And for reference, you put page 426, so not very long after Lex death.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll let you read first, and then I'm gonna bring you
Okay.
back to the moment that I read this because I can like physically remember my reaction to reading this.
Yeah. So, to preface this, in the moment, Jianju and Kyoshi are in that small little hole in the wall, whatever shop. They are trying to bend this pebble that Lek had at each other, but they're kind of at a standstill. And in walks Yoon, just nonchalantly. You noticed the bullet on the table. Its presence filled him with delight, and his face lit up as if he'd seen the object before. He reached over and slowly plucked the stone free, while Kyoshi and Jianju were still fighting for control of it. Tearing the rock from the combined bending grip of a great master and the Earth Avatar. To Kyoshi, it felt like he ripped a hole in the empty space, removed the moon from the sky itself. She could almost hear a sucking noise as the bullet left her in Jianju's grasp. Still without words, Yoon held the rock out, making sure Kyoshi and Jianju could both see it. Then he cupped that hand to Jianju's chest. Jianju's eyes bulged. Kyoshi felt his earthbending flare outward and was forced to compensate. Yoon gently put his other hand, stained with black ink, to Jianju's back. After another second passed, he showed them what had traveled between his palms, the stone now covered in blood. Yoon didn't wait for Jianju to finish dying. He winked at Kyoshi and turned to leave. Jianju teetered in his seat, gagging on blood, a dark red patch spreading from the tunnel in his chest. The waitress screamed.
Chris, when I first read this, at first when I was reading it, I felt like time was like literal frozen.
Like almost in your head, like Link freezes time sometimes.
That's what it felt like to me. Yeah, like he froze time around him, and he was Yoon, and he could still control the bomb or whatever. That's exactly what it felt like to me. And so I'm not a great reader, and so when you watch something on screen and you have like an oh snap cool moment, it was like that, but it was drawn out. Like my face is gradually getting bigger and bigger and bigger as I read through this paragraph. And then he winks at Kyoshi and just leaves. And that's when I like had the actual like the oh snap.
I think my reaction from it was way less, way more tepid because I was just confused on what the heck was happening. Confused in a good way, not just bad writing. You're meant to be a little bit because Kyoshi is confused on what's going on.
You get two titans fighting over a pebble in a tea shop,
uh,
right? And that's what makes it feel like time is frozen. And all of a sudden, this guy who we think is dead, and who you also, at this point, not just dead, but at this point, you kind of dismissed him as the side character, quote unquote, that he is. Like up until this point, when he comes back, like at that,
yeah.
like, oh, he was just a tool to create some early drama. You have no idea that this guy has any business coming back. So like, he comes back, he kills the big bad, he sets the stage for the second novel, and he kills the big bad in like the coolest way imaginable, and then just winks and leaves. Like he just hit like a game winner in a game of 21 or something. Uh,
like the Dame Lillard reaction.
yeah, that, like just that like real casual, like no big deal. It just walks off. Chris, I was so hyped for the second book after I read that passage. I was peak hype for book 2 after that passage. It did exactly what it needed to do to sell it to me. Man, that's all I got to say about it. It was really cool, and I think that it just helps prove the point that we've got some really cool content on the list ahead of him. That he's only number 7. That's kind of crazy, but I think we landed in the right place. I think there are 6 legitimately better, quote unquote, I don't know if that's the right word for it, deaths ahead of him. Chris, final thoughts on John Ju before we jump to number 6.
He deserved what he got.
He deserved a fitting, awesome death for a really bad guy.
It is interesting because like we've been waiting for Kyoshi to get this vengeance, and it's like it wasn't her vengeance to get.
It's incredible. Number 6, talking about cool and violent. This is where number 7, 6. That's where you hit like the Shawn part of the list. Number 6.
Wait, we're at number 6. Oh, man, we're moving fast. Okay, moving faster than I thought for some reason.
Yeah, a little bit. We're on good time here. Number 6 is the last one for today. That's the Earth Queen.
Ooh, the Earth Queen, man. I wish. One second. I need to read exactly what he says here. You talk about this for a minute.
So the first time that I saw this on screen, it was at that point, it was like the coolest, most violent death on screen by far. Like there was nothing close in Avatar to this at that point. So by the nearish the end of book 3 of Legend of Korra,
do think this
other than one that I can't spoil.
I do think this was the coolest by this point in that sense.
Yeah. Again, I'm not too much spoilers, but like the way that it happened was unprecedented, and the fact that it came from one bad guy to a bad guy with we've talked about it before. You get the bad guy with the good motives, sort of, right? Doing it to another legitimately bad person. So then you're even torn. You're like, I'm cheering for this bad guy right now to suffocate the Earth Queen slowly and painfully. And so, yeah, it had like a cool factor. It had a lot of impact. Put you in a little bit of an emotional, weird place. Do you have his quote that is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I pulled it up right now. He the way it's here just hates monarchs. Like before he tells her, he says, "I don't believe in queens." Like this guy is so he's
so convicted.
Convicted. That's what convicted. Yeah, he has such strong convictions. Like, and he shows that like, I don't believe in queens. And he says, "You think freedom is something that you can give or take on a whim, but to your people, freedom is just as essential as air. And without it, there is no life." And then at that point, she's reaching up, and he says, "There is only darkness." And like, holy crap! Like Zahir has so many freaking great lines, and this is just an example of one of them.
I think there's
and the way you go ahead.
There's also an element, pun intended, of like you have a little bit more naive view of airbending, and it's not that we haven't seen airbending used in fighting, but airbending used to essentially like slow torture a person to death. Like it feels out of place for airbending, so that is also like an added shocker to the whole thing. Caught me off guard.
Yeah.
So cool.
Another thing about it is like the way they animated this is the bulging of the eyes. I don't know what happens to your body physically if the air is sucked out of it. But it seems like that would be something that could be a possibility. Your eyes bulge out because of some type of physical reaction.
I don't know if that. My guess is that they would go in because your whole chest cavity would collapse if air is being forced out of you. So my guess is that everything would actually bulge in. Still, sorry, really not to nitpick. It's really cool to see. I'm sure it would immediately be visible in your torso. Because like ribs aren't all that strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ribs really aren't that strong. I feel like ribs get broken a lot more than any other.
These are the things protecting my most vital organs, and people just kind of break them casually, and then you can't like wear a cast or anything. It's like, oh, it'll be fine.
You can't wear a cast.
You really can't. I thought this is a weird tangent. On my honeymoon, I fell out of a raft, and this is a true story. I'm not making up a weird sex story or anything, but it is kind of going that direction. I fell out of a raft, and essentially I got like trapped in a big river, and I thought I was gonna die. I wouldn't call it a near-death experience. It was just drama of the moment. But I thought I was gonna die. I got trapped behind a very large log in a very big river, so like my torso is sticking out of the ground. I had a log like across my chest. But essentially I did break a rib, but like even when I told the doctor, they're like, how'd you do it? I was like, well, I was on my honeymoon, and he's like, yeah, you were. It's like, okay, no. Everybody, Chris, I couldn't tell the story. Eventually they're like, how'd you break your rib? I was like, I fell out of a raft. I didn't even say the honeymoon part anymore. Got old after hearing it for the 100th time. Chris, that's a stellar sign of the list to come. If that's not a great cliffhanger to get you to come back next week to hear numbers 5 through 1, I don't know what is. I just remember watching. I was like, holy crap, that was cool. And there's such a weird emotional conundrum because you're not supposed to cheer for Zahir, but you're like, well, if he's already in the neighborhood.
And we knew the Earth Queen was a crappy person.
And we knew, I think too, that Zahir is not just going to, up to that point, I don't think he's expressly said anything that, I hate monarchs or whatever. But, that it's not going to go how the Earth Queen thinks it's going to go. But I don't know, somehow it's still unexpected, or at least the way it happens is unexpectedly cool. Gosh, it was awesome.
Shawn, I just realized we forgot one that would have definitely made, I think, this 10 through 6.
Do you want to do it here if you feel like for sure it would have made this part of the list? Or you want to say it for...
I think for sure it would have made this part of the list. Probably
throw it in here. Let's place it.
We'll do 6.5.
Okay, yeah.
6.5 is the perfect spot for it.
Okay. 6.5 above Jiangsu? That's pretty serious.
Wait.
I don't know who you're forgetting yet, so I'm going to reserve judgment.
No. So, Jiangsu 7, right?
Jiangsu 7. Lek is 8.
Okay.
That's tough.
7.5. 7.5, which is a great point. We talked about this person, and for some reason, it just went over my head. Yoon. Because the way... So,
I didn't consider him because I didn't factor him in as dead, I guess. Wait, does he die?
Oh, he's definitely dead.
Does he die in the second book?
In the second book, yeah. Kyoshi kills him.
Oh, jeez, I forgot. Hold on, let me read that real quick. Oh, jeez.
Page 324. I knew that Kyoshi had killed him. She killed him actually an amazing freaking way, and I've mentioned this plenty of times on the podcast. But it did go over my head too. We forget things. So Kyoshi.
I'm gonna try to find a.
Well, it starts on 323 or the second to the last page. I'm sorry. So, I'll go ahead and read. All right, Kyoshi says to Yoon, I'm sorry for saying you had to live with your pain. Kyoshi put her palm to his chest in a gesture of comfort. Because you won't. Kyoshi giving a cool one-liner. So this is like in this battle, Kyoshi and Rangi has been fighting Yoon, and Yoon like permanently or not permanently, but could potentially kill Rangi. And that pisses off Kyoshi, and like Rangi is sort of sitting there dying. So Kyoshi says, "I'm sorry for saying you had to live with your pain because you won't." So her hand is on his chest, very similar to how his hand was on Janju's chest. Her hand is on his chest. The cold she sent through his body formed a tunnel of ice between his ribs. It happened so fast, with so much force, the moisture in the air behind him turned to frost. His back sprouted vaporous wings of crystal that disappeared just as quickly. With his heart and lungs frozen solid, Yoon
Oh,
fell to the
jeez.
side. Yes, she took the hand with which she killed one of the two people she loved and placed it against the wound of the other. Wait, what? She took the hand. Right, that's right. Yes, she took the hand with which she killed one of the two people she loved and placed it against the wound of the other. Right, because she then takes it and heals Rangi with Avatar State.
And then she personally carved his name in the headstone. That's kind of dark. Uh, I totally forgot about that fight. That's awesome in a sad way, obviously. To kill your friend.
Yeah, because we talk about Kyoshi being an actual bloodbender, and we don't really consider that, but she is a bloodbender. She froze a guy's heart and lungs solid.
Yeah, that's pretty jacked up.
Yeah, but I think
Effective technique. No, yeah, I think 7.5 or 6.5. I think you could argue either. I would say 7.5, but I know I'm biased towards my own reaction to Jianju. But 6.5,
yeah, no,
7.5.
that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a big one. Definitely stuff that in here. Good choice. Good call on that. Well, hey, tell us who else we are forgetting, but don't do it until you watch next week's episode where we cover 5 through 1. Right? Because if it's obvious, it's probably in there. Or is it? I don't know. Chris, this has been Avatar: The Last Podcasters, and what a pleasure it has been to discuss lots of murders with you. Fictional murders, thankfully. We don't have to deal with the real stuff. My name's Shawn Taylor. That guy over there is my friend Chris Ford, a.k.a. The Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter fame. We'll put all the description and details all the details down in the description below. If you are willing to leave us a like or review or comment or whatever, we would appreciate whatever you can spare us. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Man, when you don't talk during the closing, I don't even know what to do. Do I just sit here and listen to nothing?